Prayers for Bobby is a wonderful movie and had me holding back tears throughout. It presented the religious with a better way to think, and more importantly, gave homosexuals a strong message that there are people who are with you, you are not alone, and you should not give up on life. After viewing this film twice, however, I learned one thing: the religious just don't learn. Mary Griffith does change the way she thinks. She no longer finds homosexuality to be an abomination. She comes to terms with her son's actions, and she no longer thinks of them as sin. But she doesn't find the real abomination is the Bible itself. She finds that there are Christians who can be tolerant towards homosexuality based on how they interpret the Bible themselves. She finds a new God. She finds a new religion, a religion that maintains her other beliefs about God. What actually happens here is what happens all the time with religion. It's how religions get created. It's how existing religions divide to form additional sects. Mary Griffith simply changed her view of God to suit her circumstances, thus the new religion. At some point, when that type of church didn't exist, someone had to make it up to make homosexuals permissible under the Bible. If you're a Catholic, for example, you have two choices if you want to stay religious. If you simply dislike homosexuality, you can continue to use the Bible as literal instructions to hate and persecute gays. If you find that homosexuality doesn't bother you and you can't live with it, you can tell people that the Bible doesn't actually say we have to ban homosexuality, and you have one less restriction to impose on everyone else. When Mary Griffith's family was all heterosexual, she had no problem following a God whose tolerance was little and whose vengeance was great. She didn't mind thinking about other families being in heaven while one of their members was thrown in a lake of fire. In fact, she didn't mind thinking that of her own son until he died, and it became a reality in her mind that this nice, caring, kind young man might be suffering in the fires of hell. Then she started asking questions. Then she started thinking about God's nature. That's when God started to warp before our eyes. A few questions here, a few new Bible translations there, and we had a new God. It was quite convenient. If a majority of Christians didn't like chocolate, they simply would have found something in the Bible to translate as God's wrath against chocolate, and we'd all be eating chocolate in the closet. But since most Christians like it, it would be highly inconvenient to ban chocolate, so they don't. It may seem ridiculous to think this, but read the Bible for yourself. While you'll get dizzy in the countless restrictions, you may realize that there are restrictions or punishments that Christians don't take seriously at all. In the movie, Mary Griffith herself realizes that we don't stone to death our disobedient children as according to the Bible. That hadn't been a priority in the face of homosexuality to her. She also missed guidelines on slave trade. She skipped over the acceptance of polygamy. She overlooked that we're not supposed to eat pigs. But she also overlooks the fact that God never actually told her anything regarding the Bible's meaning. People did. Some people told her one thing and others told her another thing, and she simply chose the version that made her life make sense. She overlooks that God is not an existing being with characteristics already set in place, but rather, He's what she makes Him in her mind. That's what God is for everyone. For a nice young girl working at a Christian bookstore that sells pieces of wood that have Jesus loves you carved in them, God is a warm and comforting being. For a nasty person like Jerry Falwell, God is a vengeful being that arbitrarily wipes out thousands of random people at a time because of the presence of homosexuality in this world. And then there are Muslims. For many of them, God hates all Jews and Christians. For Jews, God promised them their own land. Then there are Hindus, Buddhists, and countless other religions, all with not only their own worldview, but their own God's eye view. And it just so happens that their God's eye view puts them on top of God's priority list. It's difficult to take in how the world hasn't woken up to the fact that God is a man-made idea that sets things straight for whoever conjures him. Mary Griffith woke up to the fact that her son is not burning in hell. But she and every God-fearing person needs to wake up and start reading and questioning all of the Bible and not just the parts that inconvenience them. They need to realize that the God they follow is the God that they put before themselves, not a God that's already before them. Changing God's characteristics yourself should be sufficient enough for you to realize that God is only in your mind.